Yo, what is good, legendary Goativerse? It is your boy, the legendary Goated X. We are back with another video, guys. It is June 6th. By the way, guys, funny enough, it's like 11:58, 11:59 on June 6th, and I'm recording this video, so I'm keeping through it. I'm following with the streak, but I gotta be honest with you, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. I have to better suit myself to record these videos earlier on in the morning, because what I mentioned last video and probably even a couple videos before, I get home late in the evening and I do sometimes get carried away with, watching YouTube or getting distracted. And on top of that, I eat food. Once I eat, I can get pretty tired. Heck, just getting out of bed to, record this video, I was like, damn, maybe I should take a break. But then I realized, no, I can't do that. Because I made a commitment, I made a promise. I'm going to follow through with it, I'm going to stick with it. Not to mention, guys, I know the last video it's been a day now. I have been recording a lot of videos, I just haven't been posting them. Minor habit of mine that I have to adjust, not a good one. So there probably will be 2 videos uploaded right after I'm done recording this one. If not, tomorrow on Sunday, June 7th, there'll be the regular recorded video for that day for June 7th, but there'll probably be 3 uploads going on that day just to make up for the days that I didn't post. Which also, there are shorts on the channels that are being uploaded as well, but that's clips and snippets of various videos. So I'm gonna try to see. I'm more focusing and leaning on towards the short form content because, to be honest with you, that just seems to get more traction and attention, to be honest, than the long form videos. Because initially, first, if I'm able to garner and grasp the attention of just short term content through shorts, and then build subscribers, and then the long form videos will then start getting the viewership and attention that I yearn and I desire that they get. But I think right now I just should have to take things like one at a time. I'm working on a bunch of projects, plans, procedures, and a whole bunch of other things, as I've mentioned previously before in other videos. And I imagine you guys have a wide range of series of goals, visions, dreams, or outcomes, or things that you want to obtain or achieve, within a designated period, or who knows, within the next couple of days, weeks, or months, or in years to come, or, a designated period of time overall. There's a structure, there's a balance that you have to implement, follow through with that persistence and consistency, and be dedicated and willing to subject yourself to, the process and the procedure, and follow through, be committed, be oriented. Don't allow yourself to get distracted, dismantled, unmotivated, or discouraged. The journey and voyage may be tough and it may be challenging, and there will be moments where you probably feel very afraid, you feel scared, you feel uncertain as to whether or not this is really going to pay off or if it's going to work out. But you have to understand that a lot of these things, bro, it's all just a process. Guys and gals, ladies and gentlemen, it's all a process in life. Life isn't always easy. Life is hard majority of the times, and it's unfair. Although we wish that, everybody could have an equal playing field, opportunity, chance. Majority of the times, the bad people, the people that don't do good, you notice that, wow, they're doing very well in their lives, their career, their social life, their personal life, and their private life, and so much more just seems to be working out for them, just seems to be flourishing and progressing and elevating, and they're just embellishing and saturating themselves and enjoying the abundance and the fertility of just that the so-called hard work, commitment, and all of the skills and talents and a bunch of other things that they've harbored and they've harnessed and they've refined and they've done to improve, or the things that they've done in general. But then you have the good people, but then you don't the good people aren't receiving those same, outcomes, results, the same, visions, goals, dreams, or the same realizations or realities. They're not obtaining those things, and you wonder where's the shift, where's the disconnect, where is the opposition, where's the differential, why isn't there any similarity, why isn't there any integration? Because I'm a genuine person, I'm kind, I'm caring, I love others, I don't abuse or take advantage of other people, I don't exploit others, I don't manipulate others, I don't discredit or dishonor others. I try my best, given my circumstances and situations that are very tough and challenging, and although there's times where I feel like I want to give up, but I just somehow have it within me not to give up. Like I want to persist, I want to continue, and I want to stay focused, to accomplish these things that I have. So it's like, why am I not getting these results? Why am I not scaling to what I want? Why can't I do the things that I want? So that's a perspective and a optical lens that, it's very understandable, and it's very reasonable, and it's a common sequence and series through a variety of events, situations, and scenarios that people and individuals, embark upon or they struggle with. But one thing is for sure, that karma is real. Understand that, ladies and gentlemen. Karma is real. Sooner or later, everybody gets what they deserve based on, their interpretations, interjections, and coordinations of their thoughts, feelings, emotions, desires, motives, intentions, concepts, fundamentals, and so much that they harness in their mind, that they grasp, that they analyze, interpret, evaluate, propagate, accentuate, and perpetuate outward towards themselves and their atmosphere and their circle, their environment, to other groups, communities, people, their family members, their friends, but also routinely in a coordinated structure and oriented format towards their habits, behaviors, tendencies, intentions, through a sequence, a series of repetition and consistency and persistency embellished in their schedules and routines. They're cultivating that on a consistent and consecutive basis, which is just interesting to think, at times, because we can get easily carried away with a lot of things, and that's why it's very important not to allow yourself to be disgruntled, not to fall into a negative equity within yourself, undermine yourself, underestimate yourself, disregard certain things about yourself, allow, negative perceptions or pessimistic thoughts, concepts, or visualizations that other people, groups, the world, or society may harness upon you in relation to a certain cast or mold or forge that they're trying to cultivate within you or procreate out of you. It's very interesting and intriguing to say the least when it comes to that kind of stuff. So with that being said, guys, it's just be very, very keen on focusing on really structuring yourself and being organized, structured, optimize your control and your balance in your life, and really keep that honed in and overall managed and operated, because it's something really valuable and important. Anyways, guys, I would love to keep talking about that, but just to keep it short, I was loving that conversation flow, but just to touch on a little bit of what we talked about last video before I mentioned today's topic. So last video we made reference to the importance of management and conservation. So overall, management comes into play in a variety of facets and assets in our lives, and how we conduct ourselves, how we go about, endorsing certain habits, allocating certain behaviors, procreating certain actions, and elevating certain notions, or establishing certain standards or concepts, and so much more about ourselves. But we have to take into consideration that there's a variety of things, and we have to allocate, perpetuate, and insinuate certain standards, protocols, and requirements within ourselves to uphold and keep ourselves formatted and structured in a certain concept or format throughout a certain element or principle of what we garner and what we choose to pursue and value and garner in this life of ours, and also internally towards us, how we are as human beings with our feelings, our emotions, our mindset, our motives, our ideologies, our concepts, our fundamentals. The list goes on and on, but I can keep mentioning just to keep it short. But that in reference and in connection towards the tendencies, the frequency, the tendencies, the behaviors, the actions, and much more, when in alignment with our energy, our frequency, our emotions, our feelings, our actions, reactions, fundamentals, concepts, and so much more, we tend to reference certain things in a certain manner or mindset, and ultimately we address things overall in a perpetuated stance in allocated format that is different in various circumstances or situations. This is why management overall, you have to learn to really garner and value certain structures and certain principles and concepts overall in your life. As humans, we go throughout our lives, we encounter a variety of things overall on a day-to-day, weekly, monthly basis, yearly, however you want to put it. There's a lot of things that we go through, and that we have a challenge that really comes about and goes forward before us. But we have to really take into consideration that it's really important for us to really take the time, despite our life, which may be occupied, chaotic, busy. We all have our own struggles, our own situations or circumstances. We face a variety of things on a daily basis that we deal with. Some of which, we're comfortable discussing with other people. Other times we don't. There are things that we prefer to stay private. But, it is important, obviously, to reach out for help and, allocate designated support when it's needed. Because don't feel bad about requesting assistance or guidance, because you're not perfect. You're human. And, you should be able to feel comfortable to express yourself, to be able to get that support and assistance that you need. But not to go on a rant or tangent on that, but it's very important. But with the management and conservation, so it's really about coming to a realization and reasoning and understanding within yourself that you have to create a strategy and a tactic and follow through with a structural hierarchy and a categorized sequence of what are the values and worths of your life, what is important, what is a requirement versus what is a pleasure, what is a obligation versus what is an enjoyment, because we have things that we have to get done, and then we have things that we can do. There's a difference between need to and want to. Very big difference. The action to reaction of knowing that something has to be done with a sense of urgency or requirement behind, because there's a basis of understanding and interpretation that, there is a designated and situated requirement or series of steps or phases or an obligation that has to be allocated and designated towards in order to accomplish a goal, vision, dream, or an outcome or resolution, or provide a solution to an issue or problem that has to be done efficiently and effectively, and maybe even in a timely manner, but it has to be done in a structured and coordinated way. Whereas if you are on the other side of the concept, whereas you want to I want to do this, I desire this, it's more so appealing towards enjoyment, personal enjoyment, allocating and perpetuating, that relaxation, that relief, that pleasure within yourself to disconnect and reintegrate your mind and your body in a more relaxed state, away from the things that the tasks, the assignments, the responsibilities that are needed, and things that have to be accomplished in order to obtain those goals, visions, and dreams, or those desired outcomes or the solutions that you need. But you allocate your enjoyment, that pleasure, that free time, that recreation to help you decompress, to unstress, and to calm yourself, give that euphoric feeling, and that joyful ambience, that calming resolution, whether it's a variety of activities that you like to partake in, or certain actions you like to do, or it could be visiting certain family members, certain friends, it can be doing physical activities, going to the gym. You can be reading a book, art, listening to music, a wide range of things that help you decompress and help you really, in a way, zone out from the imperative and of occasional insistent and persistent stresses or discomforts or annoyances that your day-to-day life can impact you with a variety of series of problems or issues that you face. And given different contexts and circumstances, constraints, situations, etc., which is not at all a bad thing, because you should be able to enjoy and relax yourself and decompress, but also understand that there is a structure and there's a balance. There should be limitations and constraints, not to diminish and undervalue the time to relax and to enjoy yourself and to just calm down after you're building that routine, you're building that sequence, and you're following through with those commitments and those values, and you're creating that momentum and you're creating that rhythm that allows you to propel and perpetuate and elevate yourself forward. But you're really allocating for a better overall standard and a measured, designated structure in your life to coordinate and delegate more efficiency and effectiveness overall in what you want to pursue and what you want to obtain in a certain goal, vision, dream, outcome, and much more, in alignment to your thoughts, feelings, emotions, your actions, behaviors, tendencies, your intentions, notions, motives, and so much more. It all is interconnected and it's situated. And conservation obviously plays a role into really you optimizing and allocating your resources, time, and energy, and a lot more things that you have at your disposition, that you have control or influence, that are your dependent variables from your independent ones, that you can facilitate to a certain standard degree. But again, you're providing that balance, you're providing that control, which is what we're going to talk about today, that helps you coordinate a structure and motive which obviously balance, you provide that equity, that equilibrium, that structure and that format that keeps you oriented and perpetuated towards a level, a standard, a phase, a degree that allows you to be more productive, more efficient, more effective in a variety of different ways. And depending what the concept or what the perception or the understanding could be in a variety of different situations, whether you're doing a business assignment, or whether it's your school, your work, your job, a certain assignment or a certain thing that's important, that you had scheduled, that you had programmed, that you're following through, you're being consistent, you're being committed, you're following those routines and those schedules, you're building that momentum, you're building that rhythm, and you're finding that difficulty and that challenge at the very beginning. Now that you've structured yourself and you oriented yourself, it's becoming more seamless and more simple. It's less of a hassle and it's less of a challenge, and it's more of a breeze, and it's more of a walk, because now you've been through the situations, the scenarios, you've seen the instances, you've seen the circumstances, you've understood the constraints, the limitations, but you've managed to somewhat harness your resources, your energy and your time and much more that you have at your disposal to an optimal and adequate perception and understanding overall, as far as what the interpretation is towards what you want in alignment to your goals, visions, dreams, and how you convey those feelings and those emotions based on those reactions or proactions within your heart, and what you believe and what you're passionate about, in alignment towards your mindset, and so much more, because it relays and it's reflective and imposed on your actions, behaviors, and tendencies. And it's a sequence, it's a rhythm, it's a routine, it's a schedule that is established. And subconsciously, with time, you start noticing that you seamlessly start to do these things without even noticing, which is interesting. The role of balance plays a very vital and key form in our lives. Think about it. Even the Bible says it, like everything in excessive, I can't remember the Bible verse, but this pretty much applies to everything in life, I would say. Although maybe somebody could argue against, but everything in excess does damage. Think about it. We all have everything, there's an optimal balance, an adequate level, a structured format, a designated phase, an integrated sequence, and much more that keeps things calibrated and equalized in order to, remember, maximize the efficiency, productivity, longevity, durability, manageability, maneuverability, however you want to progress or extend upon it. But I can keep listing more and more, but to keep it simple, balance, it helps creates that structure and that orientation that will help you in the good times where everything is seamless and easy. It helps you elevate your standards, your protocols, your motives, those feelings, emotions, desires in alignment with your actions, tendencies, behaviors, in connection to your notions, ideas, ideologies, your strategies, tactics, and what you harness even more. It perpetuates and amplifies yourself, that influence and that power towards other groups and people, individuals, the world, out to society as well, and just in overall individuals in general around you, which is very great. Balance plays that role to where you are coordinated and structured in a certain manner or format that allows you to be oriented and structured to where you can be more successful more triumphant, you can achieve more, you can accomplish, you can be more effective, more efficient with your time, energy, and resources, and you can allocate things more better. But not only that, but you can understand and analyze how to better assess and evaluate things to where you come to a reasoning that, hey, these certain habits, these behaviors, this process, this procedure, this routine that I'm following, or this ideology or this notion that I support is not really benefiting, or it's not giving me an advantage. Instead, I feel maybe it's slightly regressing, or it's degrading, or it's distracting me. I'm not really moving towards the desired outcome or goal that I want in my life, the thing that I want. Instead, it's just delaying or distracting or diverting me from. When you have to come to the realization that instead, you should put in that effort, that time, that consistency, that motivation, that integration, the value, the worth, the character, the integrity, the strategies and tactics, and much more to implement more profoundly the balance in your life, to create that structure and orientation to overall move you in a positive and optimistic direction and overall level and phase in your life towards those goals, visions, dreams, outcomes, and solutions in a more optimal and adequate manner. But yeah, that's the importance and value of balance behind it. But then obviously comes to control. Control, very vital and truly incredibly important in our lives. Control not only allows us to establish obviously as well, a balance and sequence in our lives, a routine structured and oriented upon being more optimal and adequate, understanding limitations, constraints, knowing when things are adequate, when things are dangerous, when things are acceptable, when things are inadequate, when things are rewarding, when things are risky. It allows us to navigate and coordinate our thoughts, our mindset, and our notions and ideas in a certain guidance or coordinates with principles, ideologies, strategies and tactics that we want to implement in order to better propel and structure ourselves in a certain manner or format in order to convey our feelings, emotions, desires to our reactions, proactions, our interactions and engagements with other people, groups, communities, the world in general, but how we perceive ourselves and how others perceive us. And as well also through our actions, tendencies, and behaviors, and that routine and rhythm and that structure that we establish and we propel throughout our lives. But control does play a vital and important role because it helps structure us and can allocate us towards a more positive and optimistic direction where it can help reduce, diminish, and divert us from any negative and pessimistic action, behavior, or mindset, or appeal, or an action or thing that we can potentially view as, as a pleasurable enjoyment, but in reality it can be masked as a very dangerous and risky thing that ultimately can lead us down really treacherous and heinous paths that are not going to be in any way beneficial or healthy. So yeah, it's very important that you optimize and allocate your control just so that you can get the appropriate structure and orientation in your life so that you're better, well equipped, and you're better overall prepared when coming across a variety of different circumstances, situations, or scenarios that can really put you to test as to how good your resilience and your willingness is to be committed and cooperate to what you set out for yourself what you oriented and what you structured, not what, and also what you're trying to perpetuate and present, you know, and showcase towards others in the world. That you can be a different version of yourself, that you can structure yourself in a different manner or method to really achieve and accomplish incredible feats and things in your life that you never thought were even possible. Anyways, Legendary Go-to-verse, I enjoyed this video. I would love to keep talking on and on. We are running on home time though. I appreciate every single one of you guys. I love you guys so much. I'm working on a lot of big things behind the scene. I will keep you guys updated, guys. We got some different styles of content coming. Obviously, I'm presenting the word sort of open discussions, but I'm also going to incorporate phrases and questions and maybe reference to like some topics, some books or articles or other things too, but also common, like very viral topics that are going on right now on social media. Who knows? I got a long list of ideas. I'm just going to just be patient, build a structure, routine, and just, you know, introduce things slowly as the channel progresses. But I do want to let you guys know, I love every single one of you guys. Don't give up, guys. You guys are special. You guys are unique. You guys are one of a kind. You guys are great. You all have capabilities, talents. You have opportunities and chances. Be structured, be oriented, be committed, be willing, be resilient, be relentless, be integrated, be motivated, be elevated and coordinated, and follow through with those principles and elements that you garner and you hold. Create those schedules, those routines, build that momentum and that rhythm. It's going to go a long way to propel you towards your goals, visions, dreams, and outcomes, and much more that you want in life, to put you in a right path and towards the right voyage that is going to help you get away and, you know, abandon or relinquish habits, behaviors, and tendencies or ideas or notions and much more that is just being poison and toxic in your life, that's damaging, and it's not doing anything beneficial towards you. It's not providing an advantage. Just remember that. You guys are special, you guys are unique. Always remember, I love every single one of you guys. Make sure you comment, leave a like, and please subscribe. We're on the road to 100 subscribers. Appreciate that. First goal. I'm working on a bunch of projects, plans, businesses, procedures, operations, and a lot of other things. I got some other YouTube channels that I want to work on too, but obviously we're going to focus on one thing at a time, or maybe two, at most three, but we're going to focus on being more balanced and oriented. Thank you guys so much. I love you all. Legendary Go-to-verse. It is your boy, the Legendary Goated X, and we are out, guys. Peace. Have a good night, evening, or afternoon. I can't believe I made it through this video. I'm tired. I think I'm going to go take a nap now. All right. Bye, guys.